Okay, it is 5:31 and we want to be respectful of everybody's time. So welcome. We're sorry that we are not meeting in person and you don't get to enjoy the tasty snacks that Diane purchased for us to enjoy. So right now they're in my office. If you guys would like to stop by for a tasty snack, I can provide one for you. But we want to thank everybody for being here at our ABCs of Rotary event. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us to learn more about Rotary. I'm Laura Kimberly. I'm the Membership Matters Chair. And Richard, do you have anything to say before we turn it over to Sonia for a second?
Well, I'd just like to say, yeah, thank you again for everybody coming and welcome. We hope that tonight's an event that's fun as our fifth rule. We hope that you maybe learn something. And I know that I've learned, and I always learn something as we prepare, we dig in or watch videos or do those things. So I always learn something, but that's the hope is that you learn something and have a good time. And thank you, Laura, for putting this all together, bringing us together. You've done a wonderful job on the membership chair. And then, yep, give her a nice round of applause there. Good job. And then thank you, John, as John always continues to keep us connected. So John Zagel, thank you for all the PR work. So good job there. So no, back to you, Laura. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Sonia, who is our Vice President for Rotary, and she's on the Membership Matters Committee with us. And she has an icebreaker so we can get to know each other a little bit better. So I'm going to move out of the chair, and Sonia's going to start.
Alrighty. Okay. Thank you very much, Laura. Where's the camera? Oh, there's the camera. Hi, camera. It does. I know, because you're looking over here. So the question for the icebreaker, I'd like everyone to think about. It's a really horrible question. But what was the worst job you ever had? Tell us about it. And I don't. Do you want to kick it off, Laura? You said you got a good story for us.
I worked, one of my first jobs was working at a skating rink in Reno. Just sit down. One of my first jobs when I was in high school, I was 15, I worked at a skating rink in Reno, Nevada called King Skate. And they created a video actually about how skating keeps you off drugs. It was kind of funny because some of the people who worked there were ex-criminals and they definitely did stuff that they probably shouldn't be doing there. And people were really gross and having to deal with skates that are dirty and sweaty. It was not a pleasant job. And you got to do birthday parties for people. It was an adventure.
That sounds like fun. How about you, Mary Kate? We go to you.
My worst job? Well, I probably shouldn't say the job I have right now, should I?
Probably not.
No, and it's not at all. Probably my worst job was when I was 15 and I was raising money to go to Disneyland during the summer, and I worked as a hotel maid and a travel lodge in Ogden, Utah, and it sucked. People are pigs. People are pigs.
See?
So that was my worst job.
All right. Now we'll come over to you, Jim. This doesn't have to move too much, actually.
Laying sod.
Ew.
Yeah, and it was horrible because we lived like 40 miles away. And so I wasn't getting paid until I got there. So 6 guys wide in a pickup truck, driving 40 miles off the clock. And then we decided we had to stop at McDonald's first. And then the truck wouldn't start. So we're still off the clock, sitting there with a dead truck in a McDonald's parking lot. And then we got to the job site. And by this time, it's mid-afternoon, hotter than the blazes, and not fun. And never laying sod again.
All right. I would say for me, my worst job, it wasn't a horrible job, but I worked at Movieland Wax Museum for a short time, and I never have liked horror movies, but I worked in the in the horror movie section, where I'd have to come in the morning and run the program and stand there and walk through it and make sure that it worked well. So it really freaked me out because we're doing like I think it was Friday the 13th, and it was the bedroom scene where the guy, stabs up through from under the, and anyway, that was pretty horrible. That was really disturbing to me. Okay, we got one more in the room, and then I'm going to start calling out on the Zoom, and I'm going to ask you all to talk.
Mine was laying pipe in Sheridan, Oregon, at a farm all summer. It was hot and miserable, and it was like spending an evening with Mary Kay, just miserable.
You're reliving that experience again tonight.
All right, so I'm just going off, I don't have the list right now, so I'm gonna let John tell me who to call on, but I know I just saw, let's go with Richard. You want to tell us what your worst job was?
Certainly, my worst was my first. So worked on a farm out in rural Tangent, and took care of pigs and sheep and cows. And you can imagine you got to feed them, but then you also got to clean up after them. So that did that for 3 summers. And I'll remind that at that time, minimum wage was $3.35.
Oh, man.
It was brutal, and it was hot. Like you're talking about working out, we moved irrigation pipe, we drove tractors with no cabs, hauled hay and just all the things. So, it taught me a lot of lessons, and I'm thankful I did it, but I won't do it again. I don't need that anymore. So worst job was my first job.
Worst job's first job. How about you, Doretta?
So I actually don't have what I consider a worst job.
Nice.
But I have a job that everybody else thinks is a worst job. I spent a summer as a teenager working at a cemetery.
Ooh.
And my job was this was in Utah. And so they have the little bronze plates that lay flat in the grass. And so I'd have to pull them, flash down with a flashlight and read the plate on the actual concrete crypt. And what they were doing is organizing their plots. And it turned out a few people had to be moved. They weren't by their loved one.
Oh.
The lady was very, very upset to find out her husband was buried next to another woman. So anyway, I grew up with a father who was a mortician. So I grew up in that industry. It didn't bother me one iota, but every time I tell the story, people go, "Oh, that's the worst job ever."
Good stories, though, I bet.
Patty.
Okay, Patty.
Well, at first I was thinking along the same line as Mary Kay, because I cleaned rooms too, and that was not fun. But then I remembered when I was 15, I worked in the kitchen as a dishwasher at what is now called Newport Rehab. And I salute to everyone who works there, and if I don't want to offend anyone, but for 15 years old, and everything that came back to be washed was parade food, and it was pretty disgusting. I think I was there about 6 months and had to find work elsewhere.
Well, I see a common theme going on so far. I wonder if anyone else is picking up on it. John, who's next?
David Adolph.
David Adolph.
Well, I don't think I've had the worst job. I can't really, the only one I can really think of is when I was maybe 13, laying irrigation pipe all summer.
That's a common thing.
All right, so we got 2 of those. That's
And I wasn't paid any money. I was given a car.
Oh, that's nice.
So what's the car?
When you grow up in the eastern part of Colorado, you learn to drive at a very young age, especially on a farm. So
what was the car?
it was a Chevrolet Impala.
Chevy Impala. All right.
What
I
year?
was waiting for him to say gremlin.
Oh.
Gretchen.
Gretchen.
Well, I have to agree with Doretta. I've never had a job that I consider the worst job, despite the fact that I have been a public defender for many years. But I would say my most interesting job was that when I was in college, I was the scheduler for a small chapel on the University of Kansas. And so for me, it was very stressful that I was going to keep it all correct for the upcoming weddings. And of course, back when I went to college, the schedule was kept on a very large piece of paper with a pencil. And so there was no backup system, but I made it my year and did not double schedule any weddings. I was quite relieved.
Nice. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, and I would have to say, while I like parts of it, I would have to say the lasting memories of sharing Christmas trees every day for a long time. I did the moving irrigation pipe, but sharing Christmas trees at like 4 a.m. And then from forever since then, like being the only person at the holiday festival that doesn't like the smell of Christmas trees. Because it brings back those memories.
Our children are 14 and 16, and they finally begged enough to get their first real Christmas tree this year. So he finally broke down.
And Brian refused to come in the house until you got rid of it. Julia.
I had to think about it for a little bit. I'm not really sure if I had any really bad ones, but Baskin Robbins is a place that I've worked 3 times in my life because I love working there because everyone's always happy when they get ice cream. But I worked at one that was like in 2008 or 2009 when it was very difficult to get a job, and I was desperate, and I got hired on with one that was in a sketchy part of town, and I worked there for a couple of weeks, and then when it was time for me to get paid, it was in cash in an envelope. And the guy did not, I'm not sure, like paying payroll fees, I have no idea. But he gave me cash in an envelope. Both of his kids worked there. He had 2 older sons that were very difficult to get along with. And people tried to fight me all the time, customers, because the owner, cheap as he was, refused to take, accept Visa or MasterCard, any credit cards that were less than $10 because he had to pay a fee. And as you know, you probably aren't going to spend much more than $10 on a piece, like a scoop of ice cream. And so there are a lot of angry people. So I didn't like that job very much.
Wow. Hey, Keith, what about you?
Well, I'm going to date myself a little bit. Richard was talking about how bad it was at $3.35 an hour minimum wage. My first job, minimum wage, was $1.65. And my last semester of college, this credit hour was $10 for a credit hour at a public institution. So my worst job was, again, my first job. And I got fired from my first job. Yeah, lasted a week. And I was a well driller on drilling water wells. And the part of the country I was at, they used like a 55-gallon barrel that had a bit on the bottom of it. So you dug a well down, 40 to 65 feet. And you can imagine how mucky it is. And I was the guy that slung the barrel at the end of it. And I thought, I mean, it was tough duty, but it was my very first job. I'd been on a farm all the time and never worked outside the farm. And we'd rented an animal house. There's 4 college roommates, well, 3 of us and myself had rented this house for the summer. And truly a lot of stories with that house over the summer. But I had rent due and I didn't have any money. So I asked the guy that I was working for on the truck that was driving the truck, if there'd be any problem if I got my paycheck on Saturday morning when we got done working as opposed to Monday, because my landlord was after me for the rent. He said, no, I don't think it'd be any problem. I'll just ask him. So we stopped over to his house. Of course, I'm just a muddy mess. Stopped over to his house to get the paycheck. He handed me the paycheck and says, well, I've had enough of this. You're done. And I thought, wait a minute. I worked my butt off all week. Why am I done? So I got back in the truck and the guy says, well, you're the first guy we haven't got out of the jail to work in this job in months. And he says, there's some new guy coming out from the jail on Monday. And rather than just tell you you're going, I guess the guy wanted to be an asshole. So of course, being later in my career, as I got a government job and top secret clearance, you can guess what had to happen every time I had to get my review done for the top secret clearance. They sent an agent out to talk to that guy to find out why I was fired. followed me throughout my career until 2002. I had to account for how I was fired on my
Oh my
first job.
gosh. Wow.
And I worked at the back end of a garbage truck. So you can imagine saying for 3 summers, the back end of a garbage truck wasn't near as bad as that well drilling job.
Mark.
Okay, Mark.
There we go. I can think of a whole bunch of times during my career that wasn't pleasant, but I'm thinking back to right after high school. In October, I went to work for a high-end department store as a stock clerk. In October, Christmas is in full blown, it's all over the place. And the part that really got me was on Christmas Day. I'm sitting with the family in front of the Christmas tree, and all I can think about is, thank God it's over.
Paul. Oh, Paul.
It's not even close with me. I was for a time a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman. We sold TriStar cleaning systems, which were kind of like Kirby's, but a little bit different. And the whole shtick was that people would be cold called that they won a gift, and the gift was these completely cheap Chinese steak knives. And my job was how I would knock on the door. I'm delivering your free gift. Oh, by the way, in order to get this free gift, you have to have a demonstration of the TriStar cleaning system. And the thing that we would do that was just kind of amoral, but also fun, is at the tail end of my little spiel, we had this adapter, and we would connect their vacuum cleaner, their current vacuum cleaner, to the TriStar and turn them both on. And we could suck the gunk out of their vacuum cleaner, all the while burning out their engine on the motor. But it was just the worst ethical horror of, no one wants a vacuum cleaner salesman in their house ever.
I guess we shouldn't invite you over, huh?
Riley Johnson.
Oh, Riley.
All righty. So I really didn't have a bad job either that I could think of, but I'd say the worst one was I'm originally from northern Minnesota, and I went to college at the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and I had a job at a convenience store in the basement of one of the dorms. It was probably about the size of a closet, and the only folks that came in were drunk college kids. And it was either in the warm months, it was like 100 degrees in there, and in the winter it was freezing cold. And we couldn't park close to the dorms. I had to park like a half mile away. And some days when it would be 60 below wind chill, it was brutal walking in there. But for the most part, I haven't really had too bad of a job. That was probably the worst one.
Sylvia.
Oh, Sylvia, how about you?
Fortunate. I guess I really haven't had any bad jobs. I've had some good jobs that had really bad aspects to them, though, which I think is kind of true for just about every job. So I would say, if I had to pick, the worst of the worst would be when I worked for a veterinarian, and there were fun parts like helping with surgeries and handing them stuff. And there were okay parts like cleaning instruments, but the worst part was cleaning cages. Because the animals that are there, a lot of them are sick. They're not all just getting little, spays, or everything's coming out normal. And I got so I could tell the difference by smell from parvovirus and coronavirus.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Corona was bad back then. I'll spare you the details. Just believe me.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was a lot of fun. I think we all got to learn a little bit about everybody. And I thought it was interesting that the common theme was that they were all pretty low paying jobs. I'm not sure about the laying the pipe, if that was also. And
Hey, Sylvia, or did we miss Becky?
He's not feeling very well,
Oh, okay.
so she's just going to listen.
Hi, Becky.
Yeah, we're not excluding you, Vicky. We just don't want to force you to talk. So thank you. I'm going to turn back over to Laura.
Switcheroo. Okay, so we want to go through like the introduction, introduce the purpose of Rotary. And Richard has a couple of videos that he wanted to share and a couple words that he also wanted to share. So Richard, do you want to do that first, or do you want me to go through some of the bullet points?
Why don't I go ahead and do the videos, and that'll kind of set the stage. I think that's a good way to go.
Okay.
So if John can start with what is Rotary? I think it's got the key on, and I'll just kind of set the stage. It's a quick video, and I heard someone say earlier that, you know, you can go on Rotary YouTube, and there's a ton of content there, and many of those videos are short videos. Some of them are kind of cartoon-like. This is one of those. But it's a couple messages in there, and it goes pretty fast, but kind of pay attention, and then I'll kind of speak to a couple of the points afterwards. But go ahead on what is Rotary.
What is Rotary? There it is. We have a commercial first.
Meet Subi, the magical all-in-one countertop kitchen robot.
Ooh.
What is Rotary? Rotary is a voluntary, non-profit, non-governmental, non-religious organization of industry professionals and academics working in intertwined autonomous networks providing self-education, exchange of knowledge, and humanitarian aid. It might sound complex, but it's built on a very simple philosophy. You go through life, working, studying, and taking care of your loved ones. But at some point, you might stop and feel a spark, an urge to not only do good, but to help others as well as yourself. Throughout life, you've had tons of ideas. All of them might not have been the most complex or the most developed, but it's the thought that counts, isn't it? When an idea is introduced into the Rotarian network, and we exchange thoughts, knowledge, and experience, ideas grow along with ourselves and are brought into reality. That is what Rotary is. We know that simple thoughts can become the beginning of something huge and life-changing for millions of people around the world. For us, it has led to projects like local mentorship programs, providing clean water, building schools, disease awareness campaigns, scholarships, exchange programs, weeks for cancer patients, teaching kids karate, providing medical care, blood donations, fighting illiteracy, protecting mothers and children, and emergency food supplies. And to think that our first project was a public toilet, and now we're on the brink of eradicating polio. We believe that with the right people, the smallest thing can make a huge difference. So when you feel the spark, remember Rotary.
And so again, that really spoke to me, and it's a very simple philosophy. You know, people come together, bring ideas, and ideas turn into results and reality. And it's so simple. And that's what it amounts to, is if, you know, diversity and inclusion, even more so now. I know that wasn't really mentioned, but it used to be a men's club. And just imagine how elementary or how basic it was without having, you know, a whole nother perspective in that group. So that really spoke to me, and I thought that was great. So next one, John, if you can bring up Dear Polio Fighter. And this one has a particular speaker in there, which may or may not be in favor lately. And I'll explain that as soon as you see who it is. But it's somebody that's done a lot for Rotary. It's somebody that has a foundation that continues to do a lot for Rotary, and whether they become more of a silent person or partner in this endeavor, you know, remains to be seen. But go ahead and play Dear Polio Fighter.
To everyone involved in the fight against polio. 10 million children are alive and walking today because of your efforts to eradicate polio. They will never know your names or what you have done for them. But if they did know, I believe they would want to say, thank you. Thank you for everything you are doing to wipe out this crippling disease. Thank you for blanketing the world's largest cities and its smallest villages, sometimes even risking your own lives to make sure every child is protected from polio. We've come so far, more than 99% of the way, and eradicating this disease is within our reach as long as we keep up the effort.
If we maintain our struggle at the same level, then one day we can get rid of polio for good.
For me personally, it's an honor to support your amazing work. One day, we will come together to celebrate the end of polio, and the world will know it was only possible because of what you are doing. You have my admiration and my gratitude. Sincerely, Bill Gates.
So again, that individual, has had some things happen in his history recently, but we don't judge, it's whatever. But just think about being some of those folks out there riding a motorcycle and being, treading across the desert, or, carrying that little cooler full of the vaccine. And he said tens of millions of children, would love to thank you if they could, if they knew who you are. And it's all because of you. And it's all because of what we've done, whether it be, small or large, as far as the, what we're doing with the foundation, or, with the Happy Bucks, or whatever the case. But just amazing. And that other point is that, as soon as that's eradicated, which it's not very far off, we just went down to 2 countries from previously 3. So I expect that to happen pretty soon. But what's next? Again, continuing to focus on other things, but certainly there's going to be a large goal to be focused on. And I think polio and our members, 1.2 million strong, we've got the aptitude, we've got the persistence and the ability and the enthusiasm to take on what's next. So John, go ahead and play the last one, areas of focus.
You booked a sunny Verbo ski chalet with endless views of snow-covered peaks. But the thing that
Santa in the off season.
I think that even though it's so subtle and it's got those messages, but it's still important. I don't think there's one of those things that we shouldn't really have as much emphasis on as the others. They're all, and then recently adding the environment. Gosh, if there isn't a good cause to fight and to help out. So just a wonderful video. Again, they're just a small sample of what's available. So you could spend hours on that, looking at things. And what I wanted to do is kind of highlight a couple of those. I'm talking about doing a video, start doing on the weekly meetings, especially as long as we're on COVID, on Zoom, which I think it's, makes it easy to watch those and to get a good view. But maybe we'll have a quick video and have a chat about it for a couple minutes. What'd you get out of it? Those kinds of things. So a lot of good content there. So just, take time and look at those videos. So back to you, Laura.
Okay, so on the agenda, thank you, Richard. There are a couple items underneath the introduction and welcome that I wanted to go through with everybody. And you've seen this information if you've been receiving the 11 weeks of letters. But the purpose for Rotary is we bring together leaders who step forward to take on some of the toughest challenges in our communities, which we do. Paul Harris was a Chicago attorney in 1905, and he founded the first Rotary Club in Chicago. And he had invited a few businesses and professional men together so they might recapture the friendliness and camaraderie of the small town life many of them had enjoyed. And Rotary, from the group's early practice of rotating meetings among the offices of its members. So that's where Rotary comes from, is it would rotate where it would meet, meetings would take place. And one of the things I think I was kind of shocked about when I came in is that it was originally a men's club, and women became, I'm gonna get smacked. Women began to become members on May 4th, 1987, which when you think about isn't even that long ago. And that was part of the reason I don't think I wanted to be a Rotarian for a long time, just because where I was before, it was mostly old white men. That you didn't see a lot of women. I'm not saying anything bad about old white men, but it doesn't really, Mary Kay is, but it wasn't like when you don't see other women involved in the organization, that's not really a reason that women are really going to want to get involved. It doesn't show that they're as active. So we're glad that changed. Rotary brings together leaders who step forward to take on some of the toughest challenges in their communities. So those are a couple of little bullet points. I sent you guys the club organization chart this morning. So John, do you want to show them that really quick? This is just so you know who the officers are and who's voting, who's non-voting, who the members are. If you guys see any errors that we should probably fix on this, or you don't see your name listed, please let us know. Diane Nelson puts this document together and she tries to keep it updated on a regular basis. So this is one of the documents that you received about avenues of service and what position they're in, who's voting, who's not voting, who the members are. So just want to touch base on that really quick. If you were here, I'd be handing this stuff out to you. We also, Rotary Club of Newport, we're part of District 5110, and our district governor is Jerry, how do you say his last name? Kazanovic. And we, that's our region. We have Rotary International, which is 1.2 million members, and it's all over the world that we learned. And then I was also going to distribute the list of norms, etiquette, ways of membership. This is another document you guys received this morning, just because we can't meet in person. I'm over COVID, by the way.
Yeah.
John's finding it. And this is a document the Membership Matters Committee put together a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'd say Tiana Tucker hasn't really done community service since 2019.
Okay, that's a good thing. We can let Diane know. So we can update that too. Big Sonia. Okay, so this is our culture, the list of norms, etiquette, ways of membership. We're not going to go through this with everybody. You guys are all capable of reading this on your own, but it goes into tasks. Then, can you go down a little bit, John? And then it goes into philosophy. So if you guys are reading through this and you have any questions, please let us know, because we're definitely trying to revise these documents as we go. I don't have to go say anything else about that because you guys all can read on your own. Okay. And then we have a couple of people who are in the room who are part of the Membership Matters Committee. Sonia.
Yes.
Sonia's on the Membership Matters Committee. I'm introducing you. And then Mary Kay. And then Julie Hanrahan's on the Membership Matters Committee, as well as Diane Nelson and myself. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Richard so he can introduce our officers and committee chairs.
And I thought I had that right here. Let me Scratch here. Well, yeah, so myself, your club president for another couple months. So pretty soon we'll have our president-elect Sonia Graham take over. So currently she's serving as a president-elect. We've got Diane Nelson is our vice president. So again, you know, filling the role and has good duties coming up. Laura Kimberly is our to-be president, or excuse me, vice president-elect. So very excited about adding her into the ranks. Jim Graham's your secretary. So just such a vital job there, has a ton of work, and we, you know, just a thankless job. So thank you, Jim. I just make sure we recognize Jim. So great job there. Keith Nelson is pro tem, so fills in, and there was a couple of times where Jim was out doing census work and he would fill in for him. So our club treasurer, Mark Miranda, and I think he's got 2.4 years left, so right in there. So I know he's looking for his replacement. So great job, Mark. And also Keith would sub in there on occasion if Mark was traveling or whatnot. So great job there. Our past president, Freddie Saxton. So he did a wonderful job, had a little bit more of a Zoom year. I wished he was here, but I know he's done plenty of Rotary duties. Our club service, so Doretta Smith, so she helps facilitate our events and make sure things go off like no problem, like it was just meant to be. Really does a lot of after meeting work, so thank you for her. Club administration and foundation, Keith Nelson, so great job there keeping track of all your contributions and your donations to your Paul Harris, to get Paul Harris recognition. Again, John Zagel. It's really public relations, IT, publicity, club service. He's got a lot of hats, so just a wonderful job there. Membership matters, again, Laura Kimberly currently. So that's going to be a big task. We this July, we're going to look for a new membership matters person. So we're going to do some strategic planning, and we'll want to put that in place. So this spring, we're going to I'm working with Laura, and we'll work with some of the others to get a meeting on the books, probably via Zoom, but work on figuring out who's going to take her place and try to fill those big shoes there. So great job there. Let's see, where are we at here? Club service and membership matters and Rotaract. So Julie Adobe, so wonderful job. Thanks for stepping up and kind of pioneering a new thing there. So wonderful job. I know we've gotten some results and had some folks join, and I think that's getting back in place, and we'll hear more about that. So let's see here where we are. Sergeant at Arms, again, we just enjoy the heck out of Bob. He does a great job, and he has a lot of fun. And I think that's his intention. I don't think he ever has levied a fine or asked for a fee for out of spite or out of any angst or anything, but just in good fun. So great job there running, creating some fundraising events for our club. Sonia Graham, so she's continued to be the fundraising chair. Now under that, she's got Ken Riley and Keith Nelson taking over Seize the Day. So, again, big shoes to fill. So great job there. And likely when Sonia takes over next year, we'll have to have a new chair, or probably should get a new chair dedicated to the fundraising efforts. Now John's also, as it names next to Donor Trail, which hasn't been a whole lot, but I know that that's something that we were talking about. Vocational, so some of your other chairs, Lola Jones, vocational service, so facilitating the vocational lunches. That's been a big hit. We've done that years in the past and had a little break from that, but she got that started again with Diane's help. So great job there, you two. We've got again, Keith Nelson has done Friendship Exchange. I know we were just talking about that today, trying to get that system and get that back in place. He's been really diligent trying to get a Zoom, get somebody to, from another area or another country or another area to help connect with our club. Just like last week, we had several visiting clubs, and that was just a great experience. We had other input, and we were able to kind of be braggy about our club and what we've done, how we participate. So I think that was just wonderful to get some other folks in there. Community, And so Sylvia with community projects and those kinds of things. So great job. She's had some wonderful things that we've been able to do and get through and have success and, check the box on that. So great job, Sylvia. Let's see here. International Ursula Marinelli, so wonderful. She's gave us some good reports and updates on the project in Cocoa Island and the thing with Uganda and the Hands for an African Child. So that was a great program. I know there's a couple of past presidents that are interested to try and do another international project. We're talking about that today, so looking forward to doing that and we'll see what we can do there. Kathy Heater and Amy Thompson for youth services. So, they've done a great job, a lot of participation with Interact and getting that going. They've had a lot of participation, a lot of growth there. And then there's a scholarship committee. So, a lot of folks, a lot of helping, a lot of people helping out. And that's what we wished, we're probably most interested in having an active group, having people that want to volunteer, want to get involved and just whatever your passion is, there's a place for it. If it's doing one thing or another. So we really are looking for activities and folks that want to do something or participate. And oftentimes or sometimes you'll have a new member, and we hope that doesn't happen, but sometimes a new member may not be engaged and they may go by the wayside. We may have missed or forgotten about that. So that's the last thing that we want to happen. So certainly, new folks, we want you to tell us what you're interested in doing. Sylvia will help coordinate an event and we'll get that thing going and just put the rubber to the road there. Oh, she got her cat pulled up there. So, but great group of people. So hats off, and we're halfway there for this year. And then we'll have I'm so excited for next year. We got our first Rotary International Club president. So Jennifer Jones, we'll have our district governor, Amy Walsh, and Sonia Graham is our club president. That trifecta, man, there's going to be some big things happening. So really, really excited about that. Okay.
Women roll.
Call to action there. Let's go. Okay. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you, Richard. So I want to go through and see who is here. And we have a video from Amy regarding youth services that she recorded. So let's start with that maybe. Does that sound okay, John? And so John's going to load that.
Hello, Newport Rotarians. I'm Amy Thompson, and I am currently the chair of youth services. So I'm here to talk about what we do and why we do it. Newport Rotary Club has a long history of interacting with youth and in our community as well as abroad. And so I'm really going to tell you about youth services has like a two-prong approach to what we're doing. The first is international exchange, which has taken a hiatus since really fall of 2020 after we sent our 2019-2020 international exchange student home. But what it has been in the past is Newport Rotary looks to find one student, and usually that happens, October or November before they leave the following fall. And when they go through an application process for us to send them abroad. The really cool thing about Newport Rotary is that anyone who qualifies or is accepted or is chosen to be that student that we send abroad has no expenses, because we have a fund that was set up, the Connie Gates Fund, several years ago, where they pay all expenses. This is a really unusual opportunity. We're the only one in our district that provides this kind of support for the exchange program. And so once that student is chosen, then they go through a series of training through the district before they leave for their country and the following fall. That is long-term exchange. We also have short-term exchange, which we actually never have done, but we attempted to start it up during 1920 each school year. We had 3 kids signed up to do short-term exchange, which happens during the summer. They actually never got to go, but how it works is you are the student is paired up with another student of the similar age, and their family is also willing to host. And so that student, for example, would come over to Newport, from Italy, let's say. They travel over here, they stay with your family and your student for like 3 weeks. And then both that student and the Newport student travel back to their home country together and experience that country for like 3 weeks. So it's a really great way to get a glimpse of exchange without the commitment of the full school year, which is the long-term exchange. So we're missing having that along with hosting a long-term exchange student or sending one. We also have to host one. So that is part of the requirement through Rotary. And usually we do that, and we have 2 to 3 host families that are that apply and are chosen and have to go through some training and background checks and everything before they're able to be host families. But speaking from experience, that is what I'm passionate about, because we have hosted 3 exchange students in our home over the years while our girls have been growing up, and it has been an amazing experience. Sometimes it's been really hard, but it has been so rewarding. And in all instances, we still keep in contact with those 3 students that we had in our home. I know just this past Christmas, our first exchange student sent us a package of chocolate from Lindt, because she's from Germany, because she is now in the international sales department for them after finishing her degrees. So she sent us a whole care package and lots of well wishes. And it's just been a great connection for our girls to see a one-on-one relationship with someone from another country and a totally different culture. So that is one of the reasons that is the reason I've gotten involved in youth services. So the second thing that youth services does is Interact Club. And that's a little bit newer to me. I haven't been quite as involved in it before, but now it's me and Dustin Capri and Lola Jones are really active in starting that at Newport High School. And that is a club that meets once a month. And it took a hiatus for a little while. We used to have a really strong Interact Club, and now we're back, and we're having 30 to 35 kids show up once a month. Might have something to do with free lunch, but we're giving them pathways to make their school community better. So the first thing we're working on right now is they're setting up a way where kids can nominate each other in doing basically goodwill in their high school, seeing good acts, seeing things that they think makes their school community better. And we look forward to maybe doing some service projects with Interact as well. We're basically taking baby steps and see how it goes. So really that's what encompasses youth services. If you're interested in being a part of our committee, we would love to have you, your ideas, and anything that you'd like to add. But it's really an invaluable way for us to share all the good things about Rotary and maybe create future Rotarians. Thanks.
Woohoo. Thank you, Amy, for your recording. Doretta, do you want to say anything about what you do?
Sure. So I'm club admin, and as Richard mentioned earlier, my job is to make sure everybody gets fed, everybody has some fun, and Santa Claus comes once a year. So I take care of making sure we have a place to meet for our weekly meetings, make sure we're going to be able to have something to eat, and then I get to plan, and I mean I get to, because it's kind of fun, to do our awards banquet in June and our Christmas party in December. And when we're able to do a little fun summer event, a couple 3 years ago before COVID, we headed to the Yachts Club, and that was a lot of fun. I thought, great turnout. And so, yeah, that's kind of my job. And quite frankly, I have to say, it's been pretty good this year. Well, last 2 years, John Zagel has made me look really good.
Thank you, Doretta, and thank you, John. Yes. Sylvia, do you want to say anything about your committee?
Absolutely, because we could always use more help. Community service, first we ask members what they'd like to do, and I try and mix it up, not always the same thing. We've written cards to seniors during COVID to try and do pick-me-ups for people who are in care facilities or getting Meals on Wheels and needed a happy thought. Collected school supplies. We'd helped before with a larger school supply drive, but things were kind of topsy-turvy last year within home. So we actually did that collection in January of last year, and worked at parks, spruced up Literacy Park recently, and even October 2020, one of the big projects was doing the landscaping for the back of one of the Habitat for Humanity houses, which I think everyone had a great time. And the Thompsons get a whole lot of credit on that one. Rob out there with a grader smoothing out the property and getting a truckload of bark and coordinating the people he knew for that. So it goes from big projects to little ones. It would be nice in the future. There's been discussion of getting a cover on part of Literacy Park on the stage there. So there's some shading for performers, not necessarily over the auditorium, but a small little January, February project will be pajama drive for Samaritan as soon as I can get a hold of Lola Jones about sizes. So it runs the gamut and ideas are welcome. We try and look at things like, literacy is a challenge right now because we can't meet with school kids, but there's been some proposals for that. We did backpacks once, science project backpacks for the library. Don't know how those are going, but kind of runs the gamut. So people who are willing to do collections, who are willing to call folks or do emails, deliver things, and just generally have some ideas. It's not a high time demand to do this, but follow-up's important and persistence because a lot of times people don't pick up their phone. So,
thank you.
That's it.
Let's go. Ursula had sent us a document regarding international service. John's pulling it up. Okay, someone try to read it. Okay, so thank you for making it bigger. Okay, so Ursula is the chair of the Rotary Club of Newport's International Committee. And so the International Committee builds relationships with people in other countries through friendship exchanges and student exchanges, and creates projects to help people in third world countries. The goals are to improve lives, create a better world, and end polio forever through Rotary's 6 areas of focus, which is promoting peace, fighting disease, providing clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, serving mothers and children, supporting education, growing local economies. And the international committees can organize friendship exchanges where we invite a group of Rotarians from another country to visit us or send a delegation of Rotarians to their country. And this can be done locally or through the district. And once contacts are made, the committee can work with our new friends on a service project in their country. We can apply for a global grant through Rotary International to support the project. But because of the pandemic, establishing in-person friendships and exchanges is on hold. COVID is ruining our fun. This year, we were partnering with the Rotary Club of Grants Pass to help fund wells in Uganda to provide water to a boarding school for orphans, as well as the surrounding community. And this school is being created by Hands for an African Child under the leadership of Brian Matthews, who presented details about the project at the January 6, 2022 Rotary Club in Newport meeting. And members of the Grants Pass, Roseburg, and Corvallis clubs attended this meeting as they were all interested in supporting this project. So it's a great opportunity for even more clubs to get involved and support something that means a lot. It can make a really big difference. Before proposing to the board that we support it, Ursula met with Brian and a representative from the Grants Pass Club, and then reached out to the Rotary Club of Kampala in Uganda to be sure that there was local support for what Brian was proposing. They learned that the Kampala Club is fully supportive. In fact, they're taking a hands-on approach and have paid for their own geological survey and performed 2 site visits. Plus, they meet with Brian regularly when he visits Uganda. In addition, they're committed to overseeing the drilling and payment of the borehole for the well. The total cost of the well project is $12,000. The Grants Pass Club is contributing $3,250, and the Rotary Club's board voted to match their contributions. So we are also donating $3,250 to this project. Our partner at the Grants Pass Club is confident that they will be able to secure the additional funds needed for this project. And Ursula has 3 committee members, Claire Little, Sydney Grimstad, and Ursula Martinelli. They've not been meeting regularly since the pandemic began, but they stay in touch regarding this project via email. So if this is something that you're interested in, I would encourage you to get in touch with Ursula. She's not here tonight with us, but she's at all of our meetings. And then I want to see if Lola's not here. Richard or Sonia, do you guys have anything you want to say about the president position or the president-elect position?
So the president-elect position, I pretty much am here to support Richard in any way that I can. I am participating in as many of the committees as I can, just to make sure that I know, what's going on, and I'm involved with all of the clubs. I'd say more from the vice president, which Diane is not with us tonight, but the vice president, which you do before the president-elect, is the one who plans the programs. And so that's probably even a little bit more of a commitment. So right now I'm just backing Richard up and getting ready. I started PETS. We started our classes, online classes in January, and that'll continue through February. So that's the president-elect training symposium.
Awesome. Thank you. Richard, do you have anything to say about the president position?
Yeah, I would just share, I know I got a message last night from Sonia that they were, or traditionally they would have the PETS training in Seattle, and it's like a, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of a thing. And so again, they've had to cancel that. And I'm hopeful that she'll be able to attend the convention in Houston, because I can just imagine, or I've talked to others that have gotten a lot out of that. And there's a lot of good gas there, a lot of good information, a lot of inspiration, and just a lot of going. But just like she just said, that, really, there isn't any position that's extremely demanding, because we try to get so many people to collaborate and try to get things done. Many hands make light work. And it's, whether it's Diane, if she needs help, we help her. If it's Sonia, something going on, we help her, we cover, or, whatever the role is, it's again, it's a joint effort. So it's certainly not one person doing this. And I'm tickled. I think this has been a great year, despite, COVID and despite all the things. But I think we've had a lot of development in our club. I think we've, grown growing some new leaders and building that, and just wonderful. I am so excited for the years to come too, to support the others coming behind me, and to continue the legacy that we have here, back since O.H. Anderson in 1955. So long heritage here to continue and to be a part of that. That's so just an honor, just wanted to say that real quick. Laura, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Mark, do you want to say anything about your position as treasurer?
I'm the guy with the money. Actually, I'm the guy that gets your money and distribute it out as appropriate. Just to let you know that kind of a process or a procedure that we've done is, anytime you donate money in a meeting, for example, whether it's $10 or $100 or whatever, if you be sure to say that you want that to go towards your Paul Harris, then we make that happen. If you forget to say that, We do it automatically for any donation that's $50 or more. So that's one way that we help you get up to your Paul Harris. But as far as billing, that gets sent out 4 times a year, and probably the week after next will be the next billing cycle to come out. And I send it to everybody via email. And most everybody gets email. There's a few that don't, and I have to send that by snail mail. But that's how you get your billing. And if you return your check to me as soon as possible, makes me happy because I can check it off and don't have to worry about it. Does anybody have any questions for me on the treasurer's stuff?
You do a great job, Mark.
That's exactly what I was going to add. It's just invaluable and just makes everything so seamless. So great job, Mark. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll also add, when he mentions the Paul Harris, it's a form of recognition. So again, what that means is each time you've cumulatively donated $1,000, again, whether it's those couple dollars each or have every return every year or a Rotary Direct, there's lots of ways to do that. It can be just a few bucks. Every time you get to that $1,000 mark, you get another level of recognition. So, it's a nice pin you can wear with pride. One of the videos I watched the other day was about wearing your pin. And I know Bob, and I'm going to try and remind him, but to do those pin checks, because if you're wearing your pin and if you're traveling, there's certainty that you're going to run into somebody that knows what that is or recognizes that. And that's a good way to connect the world. If you've got, folks running around doing things or doing that, it's like-minded people. It's people that, care about doing good or care about the environment, whatever those things are. But another good reminder, wear your pin, and again, you can get those recognition points. And then there's also some recognition points that can be granted or gifted. As you contribute, there's actually some, and I'd have to brush up, but I know Mark could teach us on that, but there's some points that accumulate that are able to be gifted, a loved one or another member, lots of options there. And I know Keith is working on some things there with some past members. So, okay, I'll wrap up. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you, Richard. Our secretary, Jim, do you have anything you want to say?
Sure. So I'm the club secretary. I'm the one that you can blame for all the errors in your member profile, for example. So if you see any errors, you have any changes that need to be made, please let me know. Another part of my role is keeping attendance and reporting attendance. And attendance is really just a marker of your commitment and a marker of your engagement with Rotary and with the Newport Rotary Club. And perfect attendance is something that is a goal that we can all strive for, and it's something that is recognized at the annual awards ceremony gathering. Doretta talked about planning that. Well, one way you can be one of the people up on stage getting all the glory is by ensuring that you have perfect attendance. That does not necessarily mean that you go to every meeting, because we have makeups. And if you have a makeup, for example, you've all earned a makeup here tonight, those makeups apply to meetings that you missed and still get you credit for having attended the meeting by dint of having a makeup. So if you're doing things outside of the regular club meetings that are related to Rotary and benefit Rotary and are for the purpose of Rotary, make sure that I know so I can give you credit for that, so you can get the perfect attendance each year, and you can aggregate 20 years or more of perfect attendance. We have members in our club who have over 20 years of perfect attendance. And it's, it just shows how very, very committed those members are and have been for a very, very long time. The other thing I'd like to say is, make sure another great way to earn makeups is by doing the work with committee meetings, and the committee work that comes out of those committee meetings. So take a look at that list of committees that Diane generated and Laura sent out to everyone. Take a look at those and see if there's a committee where you can add value and find fulfillment, and absolutely talk to that committee chair and make sure that you have an opportunity to engage and participate in the work that our club does. So with that, I'll turn it back to Laura.
Thank you, Tim. John, do you want to say anything about publicity?
I'm pretty good.
John's pretty good about talking about publicity. Keith, do you want to talk about the Rotary Foundation?
Yes, I'll just add some to what Richard said. I think to identify some of what we've done here locally with our Rotary Foundation contributions, Literacy Park right there behind the library is a Rotary project. Sister City Monbetsu Park over kind of behind Columbia Bank, just towards the ocean. There's a park there that for our sister city in Monbetsu, Japan, that the Rotary Foundation sustains. We've done the Kenya water project, and also you see now contributing to the Uganda project. I'd also like to point out that the kind of a segue to what Amy was talking about with our Rotary Student Exchange, we have the Connie Gates Fund that was started January 12th, 1995 with a initial contribution, endowment contribution of $100,000 to fund our Rotary Youth Exchange. That fund now has $317,550 in it. So we have a long tradition of both supporting youth exchange in the past and plenty of money to continue doing that in the future. So that's one of the things brought about by the benevolence of a Rotarian who owned a restaurant here in town. And when he passed, gave it, I guess, donated the house and sold the house. And we've been able to put it in the Lincoln County Foundation, where John's our executive director of that shepherding that money. Another thing that I'd point out that doesn't normally get pointed out about the Rotary Foundation is what we spend here in the district. And the last available funds were last report in the District 5110, we spent $433,000 in our own district of money contributed by District 5110 Rotarians. And for quite a long line, you can look on the second ellipse down on the right-hand side, what we give our club donation compared to what the average donation in the district. And we've been year over year for quite some time. I don't know if it's quite as long as a decade. We've been sustaining that level of contribution. We're the most benevolent club in the district. So thanks to you and the members, existing members, and what you'll be challenged with as you come in. You can see we're about three quarters away to our annual goal this year of $16,000. So a lot of that comes from the Paul Harris contributions during meetings. Paul Harris, you can do it online. You can give contributions at rotary.org and make a contribution and give it the check to John or to Mark too, and he can make the quarterly contributions to the Rotary Foundation. The Paul Harris, you get Paul Harris awards up till Paul Harris +9. So once you've given 10,000, then you start going into another category. There's other categories that of benevolence, at recognition for people that give significant amounts of money. In fact, I think it was in December when one of our Rotarians became a Bequest Society member. So a significant estate contribution made out of our club to the Rotary Foundation. Rotary Foundation has about $1.1 billion in its endowment and does worldwide, like you've seen already. John, did that little video, that minute video load, or did that not come through?
It loaded.
Oh, do you want to play it? That's 1 minute and 8 seconds. That's pretty nice little video.
All right, let's see if I can find it. Keep on talking, say something.
Any questions about the foundation? I can use some more members. it's pretty easy to call a membership meeting, and we don't really keep any formal notes. And there's never any disagreement because it's pretty much a unilateral committee right now. So if you have an interest in joining the Rotary Foundation Committee for the Newport Rotary Club, let me know, and we'll see if we can squeeze you in.
And it all started with $26.50, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the story. Yeah, it is. And the other thing I'd add, you're talking about first jobs and stuff. My first real career job was 22 West Madison in downtown Chicago. And I think the Rotary started in the 100 block of Dearborn. So it was less than 3 blocks away from where I worked in downtown Chicago that the Rotary was founded. And that building still, well, I think the last couple of years the building got tore down, but until like a couple of years ago, that building was still standing.
Rotary has never backed away from the hardest challenges because we're committed to a better, more equitable world. This year is no exception. Staying away from people and places we love in order to keep them safe. And despite the challenges, your generosity continued. Your donations provided more than $7 million to fund coronavirus relief projects in communities worldwide. And thanks to you, citizens of Kigali, Rwanda have their first public library. Women in rural Costa Rica are enriching their communities through social entrepreneurship. At-risk kids in Puerto Rico have an artistic outlet to heal their emotional traumas. Rotary and its partners have reduced 99.9% of polio cases worldwide. Thanks to you, the Rotary Foundation raised $408 million last year. So together, we can keep doing good in the world. Donors who take action help create lasting change. Our work isn't possible without you. Rotary.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
I want to point out just real quickly on that. So I know Laura made light of what used to be Rotary as the old white guys. But as I scroll through the videos, there's less and less of those in those videos. There's more and more diversity inclusion, and those old white guys are dying.
Diversity.
So no, it's.
Are you cheering because we're dying, Laura? Is that what
No,
you're
I'm
doing?
cheering because we're having diversity and more women get involved.
Yeah, that certainly is the case. And I think I was reading a statistic recently that there's more Rotary members just in like in greater Asia than there is in the US. So, you know, what started is not what is where it was at all. So, you know, I just welcome that. And I think that's wonderful. So I just wanted to point that out from those videos that we see, you know, a lot of people of color, a lot of women, a lot of kids. And again, the directive from our Rotary International president is to empower girls. So gosh, if there isn't a better thing, I know we're seeing more and more television commercials, and one that really catches, I pay attention to every time, is there's girls on there talking about how come there aren't more CEOs or more GMs or CFOs like me. You know, we want to change that. So I think it's coming around. I think it's a good thing. So back to you, Laura.
That's awesome. Julia, do you want to say anything about Rotaract?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Rotaract is a club that's chartered by a host Rotary club, not a committee. So in this case, our Rotaract club is chartered by this Newport club. I'm the president of the club, first one ever, and this is Newport's very first Rotaract club, just as of this last September. Our club's name is actually Newport Rotaract International because we are hoping to recruit members that are located both nationally and internationally, as opposed to just here in Newport, namely some people that have participated in the international exchange program that A.B. Thompson had mentioned. Every Rotaract club has a sponsor, and the host Rotary club, and ours is actually our vice president, Diane Nelson, and she provides us with guidance and support when we need it. Rotaract is generally comprised of young professionals, ages 18 and over, looking to enhance their leadership and professional skills, like through managing projects and networking with people and giving back to local, national, and international communities, a lot like a regular Rotary club. Many Rotaract clubs are hosted on college campuses, but they also exist in communities outside of schools and all over the world. Members of Rotaract decide how to organize and run our clubs, manage our own funds, and plan and carry out activities and service projects. Unlike the regular Rotary Club that requires various membership fees, the fee to join a Rotaract Club is only $5 a member, which is actually waived this year. So that was pretty cool because a lot of the people that are around my age and younger looking to save money and create their careers. Kind of like the High School Interact Club, we are hoping that we can create some Rotary members beyond Rotaract. I personally had been on the fence about joining the actual Rotary Club, but I had been to so many lunch meetings that I was really interested in getting involved. Right now, our Rotaract Club, we're working on recruiting and building our group. And as a group of young professionals, it's been really, really challenging to plan meetings, and also recruiting has been an interesting challenge as well. We have 6 members so far, and we are working on planning our very first project. Overall, I'm looking forward to getting to know all you guys so I can learn about what you think we should do and learning everything that I can about you and how Rotaract can help out.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. So John has a couple words. He doesn't trip over the table.
One thing I forgot to mention is I developed a new website. I developed a website and I've spent like 75 million hours and 4 wives and have divorced me because this is all I do. So I kind of want to show what I've done. Just the main points here. This is our website, and I'm a little behind, but the things that what it does for us is it's an archive of all of our meetings. So there's our Christmas, and there's our October, and all of our past meetings. So if you miss a meeting, you can go to the website. You can see who is the program, and then you can see the link to our YouTube site and all the websites that were mentioned during that meeting. Also, you could see the upcoming programs for the year. So if you're interested in that, we also have all the greeting information, who are the upcoming greeters, which we need. We are running out of greeters after this Thursday, so we will need greeters. We are also, all of our projects are listed here. There's our Literacy Park projects, and I'm a little behind there. And I have archived all of our newsletters. So here's 2011. For example, all of our newsletters, you can look back and see when I had hair. So that's that. So I just wanted to share our website. There's a lot of information on it. And that's it. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. Dave, do you have anything to say about the scholarship committee, what you're doing?
I think we lost him.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, he's not on there.
Who guessed?
Dave Adolph.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
on.
Okay, so that's a little bit about our different officers and committee chairs. And so I'm going to move it over to Richard so he could talk about greeter duties before we move into the last part of the meeting.
Yeah, you bet. And so reason she asked this, and it was something I took on, and I used to be, different roles, and that was one of the first things, but I kind of helped, refine a couple of these things. But what we have in a historical traditional meeting, just like Doretta, is making things come off without a hitch. And that's important to try to make Rotary look good. And so Mark had developed and formalized the process, but there's a piece here that she shared. And so again, in the historical aspect, you would get there, just like this list of things. We ideally would have you there, maybe 20 minutes early. You start rolling the cart out. There's a cart of things and clipboards on there, including selling the tickets and making sure, that the proper side of the ticket was given to the participant for the 50-50. We've added where you are, greeting folks and understanding if they're visiting Rotarian or if they're a guest, and in the past, how they've been paying. And so if they wanted to have lunch, if their sponsor was supporting or covering that, again, making sure to be real gracious. If you had an opportunity, you would have their badge pulled out and and welcome them that way. And again, encourage them to find a place and enjoy themselves. Then shortly after the meeting would get going, the president would call on you, and then you would introduce your visiting Rotarians if you had any. You'd make note of that, and then everybody, traditionally we would clap and welcome them. I know that went back and forth, you know, how that was received or how that was presented. And again, then you would make sure in here you were talking about collecting the money and keeping a roster of who paid or how many dollars were collected. Many times Jim will take over on that, and I think that's been evolved a little bit. But again, making certain of the dollars that have been collected and pass it on to the right person of who is being taken care of, as well as, you know, the new process where we have the standing order. So that I think has helped. I heard a lot of good feedback from that. And I think that was Sonia Graham's idea to implement that. So wonderful there. It's makes her life a little easier, or whoever's doing the spin wheel of fortune to get that. So that's been something that's worked really well. And then again, when the meeting time is coming to an end, you'll be again, the work's not done yet. So we want to make sure that, you know, we pick up afterwards. So that may mean, you know, you're staying there for 10 or 15 minutes afterwards and getting the things picked up, as well as you're going to lead the meeting. They'll call on you for Pledge of Allegiance. So many times, or often we'll try to have two people. The president may call on one or the other or both. So Pledge Allegiance. And then at the end of the meeting, lead us in the 5-way test. And the thing I want to do is when we're doing it virtually, I think it's better, or it's maybe received better if just the one person saying that. And I would like to say, when we read that off the banner, we read the whole preface. You know, the Rotary Club 5-way test of the things we think, say, and do. And then first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, and most importantly, is it fun? So, you know, read that preamble, read that whole part, and then you're generally a solo voice. And oftentimes John will mute the others, because if you've got a bunch of people saying it on the Zoom, it's, you know, it's awkward or clunky for that. And then again, after the meeting, tasked with putting some of the supplies away, which includes the little bell, the gavel, the mini banner up on the lectern, and then make sure the cart's reassembled. So if we're at the Elks or wherever location, that they're not tasked with picking up after us. And in the past, again, we would take down the big banners, put them on the cart, but just make sure it's nice and tidy. Collect all the badges, and again, and we need, just like John said, we need more folks to sign up for greeter duties. Now in the Zoom world, it's a little bit different. So again, we want to try and get that greeter, as you know, have them on early, have them one of the first people tuned in, and you know, why not when people are logging in, hey Patty, hey John, hey Gretchen, you know, welcome them in and do some more of that. So, you know, we don't have quite the same feel for that, but then again, do that. If you note any visiting Rotarians, you'll make note of that, and we'll still call on you for those things. But again, sign up for greeter duties in Zoom. It's just a little different, but and again, hopefully temporary, we'll get back to in person. But you know, if you have questions, I'd love to talk more about that, but just it tries to go towards making the meeting look like we know what we're doing, and that's the goal. Try to have it.
Fake it till you make it.
Good job. Okay, back to you. Looks like Mary Kay's taking over.
Yes, thank you, Richard. I think Laura felt sorry for me because I was sitting in the back and like not actually doing anything. And so she gave me a little task to complete. And I'm going to talk about communication tools. Those of you who are red badges I'm sure, are kind of in the middle of the 11 letters that we send once a week, or that Laura sends once a week, that we hope will provide you with kind of a depth of understanding of what the Rotary Club is. Okay.
I'm shocked, but you're doing great.
Anyway, so those letters, those 11 letters really should help give you a depth of understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we do it. And then the other things that I wanted to mention are the communication tools. And you've just seen the website. And I think that if anything, if you want to talk about communication with the for the Rotary Club of Newport, I think that you have to think of John, because he's the one who put together the website. He provides well, I don't think he does it. I think that the club provides the $5 social media award. So if you use social media, I think we're on, I don't know, what are we on?
Facebook.
Okay.
And Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram. So
And YouTube, don't forget YouTube.
Oh,
and YouTube, yes. And then I don't think we do newsletters anymore, although it is kind of entertaining to go back and look at the archive of the newsletters to see what was going on with the club over in the past, because I think that can be kind of entertaining. Also, keep your eyes open for emails, like the email that you got from Laura today that essentially provided you with the documents that we're talking about tonight. One of the other things that John does that is I think a really important piece of what we do is he'll send out an e-card if we have a particularly a sympathy situation for one of our members. John's very good about sending those out. So keep your eyes open for those emails that come out. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is your process from moving from the red badge to a blue badge. And apparently it should take about 6 months. There are some who believe that it should be done in 3 months, and then there's those of us who are a little slower, but I believe that you've all heard the story of the tortoise and the hare, and slow but steady does the trick. So don't feel pressured. So you have a list of the activities that you're going to need to put together, or that you're going to need to do to get your blue badge. And I'm just going to briefly mention those. You need to meet with your sponsor and then compete. I think it's complete. I don't believe we want you competing with your sponsor. We want you to be cooperating with your sponsor. And complete the checklist. Attend a new member orientation meeting, which you are doing at this very moment. So you are way ahead of the curve. Earn an online makeup. And would this be an online makeup, or is that attending an online meeting?
So
that's an interesting question. Back in the old days when we actually met in person, you would attend an e-club. There's an e-club. If you just Google for Rotary e-club, there's a whole repository of meetings that you can attend. But now that we're all virtual, that's a very good question.
But if you miss a meeting, Zoom meeting, you can watch it on YouTube and get credit.
So you can watch the meetings that we regularly do on Zoom or by hybrid. The amazing, the fantastic, the superb John Zegel records all of those meetings and makes them available on YouTube, and you can watch those meetings and earn a makeup for the meeting that you missed or for any other meeting as well.
Yes.
Well, I would say no, this does not count as the online makeup, I would say.
So an online makeup would be going to those e-meetings.
E-club.
E-club,
Yeah.
excuse me, e-club.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a keyword that'll find you on Google.
Oh, okay.
It's e-club.
E-club, okay,
Yeah.
good. The next thing is you need to serve as greeter 3 times. That was something that we kind of struggled with a little bit after we went virtual or hybrid, is how to be the greeter. And so, but I think we've nailed that. And I think Richard has provided you with information about being a greeter. So to move from the red badge to the blue badge, you need to be a greeter 3 times. Attend a club board meeting, and those are held the first Tuesday of the month. And it's everybody's welcome, even if you've taken care of that requirement for your blue badge and you want to go to a board meeting, everybody is more than welcome to attend those. Participate in a hands-on club project. We don't have quite as many of those as we have, although I think that any of the projects that Sylvia has been putting together for us, which she's been doing a great job with, any of those would count as a hands-on club project. Attend 4 Rotary activities in 1 calendar month, and that doesn't mean that you have to attend 4 meetings, but 4 activities. Secure a committee assignment and meet with the chairperson. You've just had an introduction to all of the chairs. If anything piques your interest, we would love to have you participate in those committees, talk to the chairperson, and I'm sure they would more than welcome that they would more than welcome having additional people on the committee. And then bring a guest to a Rotary Club meeting. So those are some ways that you can stay in the loop with the Rotary Club of Newport. And then also that's your process for moving from the red badge to the blue badge.
Good job. Thank you, Mary Kay.
You're welcome. They have to give me positive reinforcement because I don't get to speak out in public very often.
Okay. Is there any questions that anybody has before we close? Or do you want to come back over here? I like being in the back.
Nice.
Is there any questions that anybody has before Richard moves into the closing part? And if you don't have questions now, if you have questions later on, feel free to reach out to
any of the membership matters.
Yes.
Or anybody.
Yeah. Okay, Richard, do you want to move on to the closing?
I certainly do. Yeah, certainly. So a couple of things just real quickly. One of the things we talked about or just mentioned was newsletter. You know, there isn't anything I would love more to have somebody capture that. We used to have Dick Fowler doing that, and that was his profession. So it was easy for him to replicate that for Rotary, and that was his life. I mean, a tribute to him. It just an amazing individual. It was award-winning, would do that. So that's something that, you know, there's opportunity there. So if somebody new or somebody may have been a publisher in their past life or, you know, whatever, editor or whatever, great. Step right up. We got some room for you. The other thing we want to do, we lost, when we lost Peggy and Jim Walker moved back to the Valley, was Peggy had started our Sunshine Committee. So that's something that we want to get again. So, you know, like Laura was talking about, or Mary Kay was talking about John doing the e-cards for sympathy or for those things. Also, gosh, if somebody's just missed a couple of meetings, we can send them a little, you know, a little note, a little card. So I'd love to have somebody volunteer for that. And it's a real simple thing. I've got no cards. I've got that ready. We can get you a semi-confidential list of member contact information. So a couple of things I'm working on. Again, we talked a little bit about videos that we want to start talking more about. And again, that's another way to think about makeups and getting that perfect attendance. So just wanted to cover those things. So lastly, again, for the close here, I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. I think it was time well spent. I think it's just wonderful to have this fellowship, whether it's in person or Zoom. We would love to have more than anything, an active, fun-loving group who want to do good in the world, people who like to help out on service projects, community projects, or fundraising events. I know that my short time with Rotary has been very rewarding, and I want to share how easy it is to be part of one of the largest humanitarian civic organizations in the world. Rotary has over 1.2 million members and have literally made a difference in tens of millions of people's lives. So it's just amazing. You can watch any of those videos and see the impact. So last couple sound bites is use your profession. You know, what you do is ways to connect with people that maybe don't know about Rotary. So speak out, wear a pin, drop hints, drop little breadcrumbs, use your profession, get involved. So, you know, if there's something like Laura just made a call out for, you know, committee members or chairs or to meet or to participate, get involved. Let's have some, you know, some new exciting things going on and do good in the world. That's what the whole thing is about, is trying to bring minds together, bring ideas together, have results, have a, you know, have a good time, and try to participate where you maybe didn't have the opportunity to speak to a judge in town, but you do at Rotary, or you may not have opportunity to speak to, you know, some quality lawyers in town, but you do at Rotary, or, you know, retailers or bankers, or, you know, those things. You've got that opportunity to connect with people and make a difference. So, you know, let's share experiences, let's share like mind, like ideas, and let's do good in the world. So with that, back to you, Laura.
Okay, we want to do the 5-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Thank you, everybody, for being here. You want to read together? Does that sound okay? Okay, the Rotary Club 5-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all
concerned?
Third, will it build goodwill and better
and better
friendships?
friendships.
4, will it be beneficial to all
concerned?
And last but not least, is it fun? Yay! This is where we need like the bell. We don't have the bell, so I'll just like this. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And I have snacks if you guys want snacks.